Okay. Hello, tribe. Hello, Popums.
Hello, beautiful. How are you?
Oh my God, we made it here.
Mm.
You keep referencing age, and we've been speaking about all sorts of ailments and pains that we have in our body. How did we get here?
How did we get here? Time.
Time.
Yeah.
And I think today we really are speaking and capturing time. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm content, I'm in a good place. A lot going on. Personally, globally, familiarly, but
Yeah.
not frazzled, which is nice.
I like that. And I
Yeah.
remember meeting you fresh out of COVID, and we were all trying to deal through what is this? Like just trying to capture our emotions. And it's really good to see you doing well. I mean, how
Hmm.
many years has it been? Like you
Since COVID or since we've known each
since we've
other?
known each other.
Damn.
It's like
Like lifetimes away.
magazine girl
Like,
days.
yeah, lifetimes ago. So
It's
much has happened. Since did I have kids? I didn't even have kids.
no,
You didn't have
none of
kids.
us.
Yeah.
None of
And
us
I've got
have
a
kids.
teenager now, 14-year-old.
Girl, how's
Mm.
that going? How's Quizzy
It's
doing?
her Quiz's
And how's Ruri
grades.
doing?
They're growing up. It was Quiz's birthday last week, and what I
Happy
could
birthday,
muster, hey
Quiz.
Quiz Liz, is that I just love being their mom. I would choose them
Mm,
again and again.
yeah,
I love being a mom, but I love being their mom specifically. I think
love
God knew
that.
exactly what he was doing.
He gives us the kids we need and that
Yeah,
need
that's well
us.
put. Yeah.
He gives us the kids we need and that need us because there's a lot of parenting, reparenting, them parenting us at intervals, not necessarily them being parentified, but us really feeding from them because that youthfulness, depending on the childhood you had, they really are able to assist us through some of that stuff. I don't know for you.
100%. And also nudging us to kind of deal with our inner kids.
True.
I found that a lot. Every time I'm challenged with, a parenting thing, and I have to take a deep breath to check how am I going to respond to this? Am I going to respond out of emotion? And what is it here to teach me?
Yeah.
And it's not just theories, kind of putting it back into my life. So I'm very grateful
Yeah.
for those.
And I mean, of course, we're gonna before we even get into it, because because of the relationship we have, it's expected that we'll get into this. How's Mama Shumi doing? The fabulous darling.
She's good. I was with her the whole weekend. We had a
And I'm sure Nakereka, she was deep in the
For the first Easter, she didn't.
oh my.
I think she went to church on Thursday,
Okay.
and we all did. And then Friday, it was just family. We did
Yeah.
watch a sermon, but we were all together from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We split up yesterday. It was
Mm.
nice. It was
It'll
lovely.
look different. That's something that landed in my spirit very strongly last year to say it will look different. Whatever you think it
Yeah.
is, it can look different. And
And
to
it should,
and
don't
it
you
should
think?
look different,
Because
yeah.
everything changes. There's a
Yeah.
constant change every second of the day. So if you're hoping to, I think that's where the frustrations come. Where it never
Mm,
used to be like this. I wish it were. Just deal with it as it is,
yeah.
and embrace it.
Yeah. Love that.
Mm.
Shall we get straight into it?
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
today I've got a friend, a sister, and I think we've walked different milestones together as we've just been bantering. I am sitting with Papama Mtwisha, and we're talking about Africa, Your Time Is Now. And you may be familiar with the brand, but I think we're expanding it beyond the brand to really just have this conversation. And what a timely conversation to be having in this interesting time where Africa really has an opportunity and has already, I mean, made significant strides in claiming its time on the global stage in whatever sector. As I typically do, my name is Bui Mafoko. I'm a seasoned entrepreneur, a luxury consultant, as well as a speaker. And today's conversation, I think, really brings me full circle because what we're doing here is really telling and chronicling the story of Africa and its growth. Africa on Luxury is a luxury education platform, and we're really chronicling the story of Africa and drawing context from tastemakers like yourself. Excuse me. This podcast, we are embarking on a series of culturally rich conversations seeking to explore, inform, and create a unique definition and discovery of Africa. Today, as I've mentioned, my guest is Papama. and girl. It's always interesting when when it's somebody that you know and you have to read their bio and you have to research for the episode, because you really get an appreciation. I think I already regard you as a creative maven. So to actually sit with your bio and to have been researching this episode was very
Oh wow! And it's always interesting to listen as well, to hear it when people
humbling.
read, and I'm like, what did I do that? I've
Oh,
done that.
is that me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Papama is a multi-talented creative force whose career spans the worlds of fashion, design, styling, as well as entrepreneurship. An award winning stylist, fashion director, designer, businesswoman, and speaker, she has established herself as one of South Africa's most influential voices in contemporary African fashion and culture. In 2014, inspired by her two daughters, the beautiful Kwezi and Ruri, she founded Butter Pudding, which my boys have worn because I'm a boy mom.
I remember those days. My
Yes,
gosh.
yes, which my boys have worn, a distinctive children's clothing brand offering unique, high quality, locally made apparel. Building on this success, she launched Africa Your Time Is Now, not just a fashion label, but a rallying call to inspire unrealized greatness across the African continent. Through this brand and the world over. Through this brand, she seeks to empower Africans by promoting self belief, challenging stereotypes, and showcasing the continent's rich cultural heritage through a modern, thought provoking lens. A true creative visionary, Papama previously served as creative director for Johannesburg's luxury concept store Luminance, which you will know, I'm sure, where she collaborated with global fashion powerhouses such as Givenchy, Stella McCartney, Giorgio Armani, Oscar de la Renta, my favorite,
Mhm.
Chloé, as well as Giuseppe Zanotti. Her career also spans an extensive portfolio of glossy magazines, such as True Love, which where we connected, as well as Destiny, where she held executive level fashion editing roles. She continues to work. I'm not done. As one of South Africa's most in-demand commercial and editorial stylists, with other local and international fashion industry work, including publications, TV shows, private and commercial clients, showcasing her styling, designing, as well as cultural entrepreneurship skills. Notably, this year, my friend Papama, she has her influence and leadership has been recognized by the Reputation Poll International, naming her one of the 100 most reputable Africans. A passionate advocate for Afro optimism, heritage, and identity, Papama is at the forefront of Africa's creative and cultural renaissance. There was no Ebengs of Crema because Guningi babes.
Yo. Guys, no, 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 no.
I usually can wing it, but this is not one of those bios that I can
Thank
wing,
you.
because I think it's so colored with who you are as a person. I think, um, and I've known you at different phases, as we were just talking initially, and it's beautiful to see how all encompassing and wholesome this bio is, and that's who you are as a person. So congratulations.
Thank you.
How
Thank
does
you
it
so much.
feel?
Um, yeah, like eye-opening. It's always moments like these when I take the moment to reflect, because I'm in it. I'm in it every second of the day. I'm in it because I thoroughly enjoy it. I live and breathe what I do, and I think I would do it even if I weren't getting paid, because
Yeah, I see that.
apparently since I was young. I mean, I remember, I think it was at my 21st, my aunt was talking about stories where I used to cut up magazine pictures and make up my own magazine in a
Oh,
notebook.
stunning. You were
So,
always editing. You were
mm,
always creative directing. And I mean, you've worked on some really exciting projects, Netflix and all of that. What are you working on at the moment?
yo,
Whatever you can share,
what am
because
I
we
working on at the moment?
loads.
Lots, yeah, lots.
Yeah.
Africa Your Time Is Now keeps me very busy. And that's an entity on its own because it's
Yeah.
multidimensional. As we said, it's not just a fashion brand. And I also work with Lamppost, a production house that keeps me busy. I've been with them for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I can't even remember.
Mm.
So yeah, and there's other projects that I'm doing on my own, not outside of the agency, outside of the
Yeah. And
business.
some that we've spoken about collaborating
Yes, and
on.
I can't wait for them to come to life
They
in a few
they're
months' time.
they literally we're there.
Yeah,
We're there.
yeah.
So exciting to be launching. And I know we've always tried ways to work together, but this one feels very native to both of us. So
Mm.
excited to be doing that. And of course, we're having this conversation. As I've mentioned, our topic is Africa, Your Time Is Now. We're having this conversation within the context of Africa's, just the emergence of Africa right now. If you know what's happening politically, if you know what's happening economically, um, and in fashion as a sector, there's a lot that, for example, Trump's tariffs I've been reading just like opinion pieces and analyses on what the impact that that'll have on the sector and its impact, and obviously what I'm calling China's retaliation, because obviously they are the manufacturing superpower that have been supplying the global West, and all of these make for a very rich and meaningful conversation. But to take it a step back before we get to what's happening like contemporarily, let's talk about just Africa Your Time is Now as a brand, and the vision that you had for it. It's such a bold and evocative name. What inspired it?
I'll tell you how it came about. I think maybe that will answer the question. So, you touched on the fact that I launched Butter Pudding, which is a kiddies brand, and inspired by my two kids. And when we did Butter Pudding, we had T-shirts that said "Africa is the future," which we didn't start. It was a movement started in France by two French men. And by the time I started Butter Pudding, they'd disbanded and stopped the movement because I think they believed that they achieved what
Yeah.
they wanted to do. So I sent them an email to ask for permission to use this phrase again for a kiddies brand this time because I felt that, they are the future.
Mm.
And we did the t-shirts and they did so well.
Yeah.
And even though it was a kiddies brand, we had the parents who were buying for the kids
Yeah.
saying, yeah, but we also want.
Yeah.
Ne?
I was one of the parents.
And we did them for the parents. And then one time I was sitting in my daughter's bedroom, which gets the best sunlight in the house, and it dawned on me that the kids are the future that for our continent. And for us as adults to ensure a great future for them, we have to take care of the now.
Now.
And it's in
Oh.
our power. So that's how the wording and the phrase was formed. The words just evolved from that. And Africa Times Now was birthed. And how I knew that, see, I'm getting goosebumps again,
Yes.
that it just felt right because I was trying to take a nap in Kwesi's bedroom, and I got up when the seed was planted in my spirit, and I got my notebook and I just started jotting down exactly how I'm going to bring it to life. And my pen just, wrote on the notebook. It was ideas were flowing. It was so easy. And that was 7 years ago. Or was it 8 years? 2017. How many years ago was
Yeah.
that?
It's like eight.
Yeah, 13th of June is when
Yeah.
we put it out there. And yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago.
It does. I didn't realize it was only 2017. It feels like the brand has
13th of
always
June.
been with us. And I
Because it's
think,
always been our time.
yeah,
It's always been our
I was
time.
just, you took the word straight out of my mouth, because I was going to say by virtue of the now, it's always been our time. So I guess it resonates and it feels like home because of that. And I mean, what is the conversation that you intended to start and the narrative that you wanted to position with Africa Your Time Is Now?
Oh, so many conversations, and one of them being us taking ownership of the now and stop looking to leaders and looking outside of ourselves to solve our own issues. And I mean outside as in outside of us personally, but also out beyond our borders and beyond our continent. Our solutions lie
Within us.
within us, within our continent, you know, because we've had centuries of us looking outside and look where that landed us.
Yeah.
So I wanted us to just dig deeper and believe in ourselves and know that we've always had it.
Yeah.
We've just been made to forget.
Yeah.
And they tried hard and they worked hard to make us forget. Oh
To
my,
dismantle.
yeah. And they were successful.
Yeah.
But we need to be as deliberate in undoing all of that mess that was done. And I always say to anyone who cares to listen that um, if we didn't have the power and the wisdom and all the great things that we possess, the West wouldn't have tried so hard
To
to bamboozle
dismantle
us.
and to unband and to like carry what was great.
Yeah. And that's the departure point. Let's focus on everyone who tried with apartheid, with colonization, all of that. They wouldn't have gone through the lengths that they've gone
Mm.
to bamboozle us.
Because, and also, I mean, even however much you mine an area, the richness,
It's there.
it's in the minerals.
Yeah, it's God given.
It's God given.
Yeah.
And when you say that, I mean, I draw the connection to the fact that like I've always said in my life, whenever I've gone through loss, whether it's of things or projects or whatever, and I've said, God won't use what was taken to bless me. He'll use what's left, because even that, and I think bringing it closer to Africa as well. I think we still have so much that's left. Even the ravaging or the looting that has happened, but we still have so much that's left. Even if it's just in our hearts or our spirits to be able to rebuild. The culture, you can never carry the culture off. You can never carry
It's innate.
it's
It's
innate.
in our DNA.
And it moves from generation to generation, and it's not something that can be AI'd to be mimicked and stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. And how has the continent shaped your brand's identity, as well as just the creative direction of all the work that you do?
Um, yeah, everything I do has that as the genesis. Even with the styling work, not just with the fashion work, I am so deliberate in doing my little bit because I think what delayed, doing what I do now and what I sense from a lot of people, not now as much, but before is that you think, oh, I don't have the capacity like Nelson Mandela, like the big people that did big
I don't
things,
have the platform.
you know.
Mm.
So it's all about starting small, and that's what I did. I just said, what can I do in my circle of influence, with my circle of influence, with what I've got. I'm a trained fashion artist, designer, and hence I started the Africa Your Time Is Now movement on T-shirts because it was a low-hanging fruit. It's what I do, it's what I trade in, and I was like, yeah, I want to keep this message top of mind. I want my brand to be anchored in pushing the needle forward. Not that there's anything wrong with designing beautiful clothes for the sake of beauty, because it also has a place.
Yeah.
But I wanted as our clothes to carry a frequency,
Yeah.
an
Which it
energy.
does.
And I see it from when we manufacture the t-shirts, which is a plain t-shirt or a sweater or whatever, from when it gets the message on it, it has a whole different frequency, and we
Love
also
that.
pray for any garment that leaves our warehouse. We pray for so that whoever receives it, whether it's a gift or someone who's saved. I mean, we get emails from a woman from Limpopo who's been saving for 4 months to pay the 550 rands that the t-shirt costs, to a woman like Naomi Campbell who can wear any designer brand and everyone in
But
between
chooses
to wear because of the frequency the t-shirt carries. And it brings me so much joy. So that's how the continent has shaped me. I just wanted to do my little bit in creating a conversation, making some sort of difference out there, because it all adds up.
That's amazing, because as you're saying this, I'm sitting here thinking, with all the access, because of course you were, you know, fashion director at Destiny, for example, before you exited formal
Yeah.
employment and Luminance, and with all the access that you had to, because it's so easy to be westernized, even in your, like, with the access that you have in terms of brands, but even in your styling work, to pull, because you've got your discretion, you use your discretion to pull certain brands that you're going to put on, clients that you're styling or productions that you're working on. With all of that, um, you haven't teetered too far west. Um, and I find that very interesting, because it must come with an appreciation of really, the thread and the consistency with which you do what you do, because it's a spirit. It's who you are. It's not what you do.
Yes.
Really. So I must
That's, thank you.
commend you for that.
Yeah. What my experience with Luminance taught me, because it exposed me to the creme de la creme of the luxury market. Um, and I applied that when I started the brand. I there is a difference between I can't mention names here,
You
like
can.
a Mr. Price white T-shirt to a Zara white T-shirt and a Zilleri white T-shirt or an Armani T-shirt. There's a major difference in the quality, in the packaging and all of that. So I got to get that firsthand, what makes these brands what they are.
Yeah.
Um, they have been very deliberate with every single output that they put out there. It's not just putting something out there for the sake of. So when I started my brand, I needed to make sure that the quality was up there. I didn't want a pity buy. I didn't want people buying into the our brand because it's Akshay man, it's an African brand,
Yeah.
let's support.
Yeah.
It needed to
There's
compete
often that.
equally. So I was very, very deliberate about the quality. We wanted our t-shirts to wear well and wash well. I didn't want you to wash it after 8 times and then you have to throw it away, because that also affects something I'm very passionate about, what that does to the environment.
Sustainability aspect.
But yeah, I wanted our t-shirt to compete with the best of the best in the world, or in our sweaters. So I took my time in finding the manufacturers, and I fired a lot along the way because they just didn't meet our standards. Because Africa deserves,
Quality.
yeah, we're not a market brand that we've been relegated to for the past few
And we are
centuries.
the home of craftsmanship.
The home of luxury.
Of luxury.
Yeah.
The home
The
of
home
luxury.
of luxury.
You're quite right.
The epitome of it. And it's in our DNA. So that's how my experience with my previous work helped me distill that for what I wanted to do.
I must tell you something so beautiful, because of course I've gifted many a people your t-shirts. I gifted
Thank you.
I gifted a friend's daughter the t-shirt, and her son, her second born, is 5 years younger. And the t-shirt was handed down to the son.
Yes.
And I saw him wearing it. I'm like, it's just so beautiful to see, because when we talk about circularity and when we talk about just the quality, having the quality enough to use and reuse something. And I'm a huge believer in just that, like I gift a lot of stuff that I still love, but that I know that, okay, it's maybe time to purge certain items, but I gift it to somebody that I know will have an appreciation for it and still enjoy its lifetime before they have to pass it on. Let's talk about, I mean, Africa Your Time is now is more than a fashion brand, as we've already mentioned. And um what and you've probably touched on this, just some of the stories perhaps that you hear back in terms of where this brand has landed up and the impact that it's had.
My gosh. I mean, just this morning, I was sitting in the car and I was responding to a message that was sent to me last night by a professor at some university who is an avid follower and supporter of the movement. She sent me a message that she wore it to Ghana in this weekend. And one of the professors there was saying, saw her at the airport and she was wearing a sweater. And she said, what her message said, hi, Sis Pam, if you watch this, when you watch this podcast.
Yeah.
The professor said he agrees with the message, but we should put again at the bottom. So Africa, your time is now again. And I was like, yeah, these are the kind of conversations we need to be having. Like, what makes him say that, and what makes him feel that And then last week I took my daughter to a spa, and I walk in. I didn't think I was going to know anyone because it's a spa,
Yeah.
And I sit down. My two daughters, they go through, and I had my laptop there, and I think this lady had the presence of mind to wait for them to go. And she comes to me, she says, hi, you don't know me, but my name is so-and-so. I was introduced to your brand by a lady called Gugu, and she lives in Kenya. And she says she's been buying our t-shirts since her two kids who she had taken to the spa, it was a kiddie spa, were kids. And then she followed with pictures. She says, my kids have been wearing your t-shirts all over the world. And she swipes, she's like, yeah, they're in China, here's by the Eiffel Tower, this is by the whatever.
Wow,
And
stunning.
to your point, one of them is, I think there's a 5-year age gap.
Yeah.
And then when this one's sweater is bigger
You give
or
it.
smaller, it gives, and there's so many stories like that.
Yeah.
So many. My sweater is stolen. I need to get another one because I was traveling and this one wanted it. And they were like, you live in South Africa, you're going to get it
Yeah, you
anyway.
can always get it.
And that happens a lot. And
so
people wearing their T-shirts to graduation
Yes.
at Ivy League universities because for them, it's what they're wearing says it before they even open their mouths.
And it clearly states your position.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I gifted it to somebody. Remember, a kimono, it was a camo kimono that I gifted to somebody. It was going to Chicago. And it opens up a conversation. And I think you can't, if you're not willing to talk that day,
Yeah, it says it.
it's like, it's going to open up a conversation, but also it's going to prompt dialogue.
Yeah.
I think because somebody who sees it, and particularly now, I mean, a lot of people in the US, all over the world, with everything that's happening, and there's a lot of conversation on social media about people wanting to come back to Africa or move to Africa for the first time. So definitely, like the T-shirt on its own is a bold statement and a dialogue without you even opening your mouth. So,
and we get a lot of people saying they saw someone in a public space wearing the T-shirt, and there was an
an
like
acknowledgement,
yeah,
like a
or
nod.
conversations being started or people meeting because of this.
Precisely.
Yeah, and that brings me so much joy. That's exactly the intention.
And
Bring
I
us
mean,
together.
Did you imagine how much it'll transcend even you?
That was always the intention.
It was always.
And I was also very deliberate, and it took my best friend convincing me to put my face next to it because I was very clear that it needed to be a brand on its own outside, because I'm just a conduit. My company is literally just a conduit. The message is way bigger than us. It's even bigger than South Africa. Yes, it's founded here, manufactured here, but it's bigger than us. And the only reason, obviously, I put my friend was like, you've got the credibility. You've worked all your life in the fashion industry, so people needed to know
the clout that comes with.
Yeah, it wasn't just some random person who just whatever, which it would have been fine, but it, I so that's how I came to be associated with the brand. But otherwise, it's gotten, it's way bigger than me.
Yeah. And where else beyond t-shirts, and you mentioned hoodies and of course the kimonos, where else has the brand lived? Or on what else?
Candles. I'm a big lover of light and candles. I think 4 years ago, a year into COVID, we eventually went out with our
2021,
candles.
was it?
And because even the rationale there was a little bit deeper than just a candle, because we've been previously known as the dark continent. They dubbed us as that.
Yeah.
And I wanted every time we light a candle, say a prayer, light our own way, because that's how it's supposed to be.
I love just the meaning behind everything and like the deliberate steps that you take in weaving. Like I feel like it continues to rebirth itself or reveal itself to you, which I think is a true sign of a divine assignment, isn't it? Like it continues to just reveal itself to you. Like I'm sure in the beginning you didn't know it'll become this, of course not. And with everything, and I'm excited, I think, just as we move on in the conversation to hear more of what you're doing. Beyond fashion, how do you see this rallying call and really strong reclamation of identity contributing to African pride and its global position on the contemporary stage, global stage? How do you see it contributing to African pride?
Merely from the conversations that it sparks, from even corporates adopting it and running with it, and so that it becomes second nature to us. Our kids and their kids, as they wake up, they know that it's been their time, it's their time. They don't need a T-shirt to remind them. They don't need, all of that. It's in our DNA. So I want us to have the necessary conversations because not everyone agrees with the message. I got lambasted a few times,
By
with
who? Interesting.
plenty of people. And some of them African and some of them not necessarily. And it's all valid, and it sparked off debates and necessary conversations that needed to be had because when we launched, people were saying, it's no, how can you say that when there's so much corruption, there's so much poverty, there's so much,
So just challenging its positive
yeah,
sentiment.
but then it also gave me the platform to actually tell people why we needed to break that, and add light to that darkness. Because if we just leave it as, we've got corruption and succumb
We've
to,
just relegated ourselves
you
to
know,
this.
exactly, we need to start somewhere. So, or people saying, why do you feel the need to say, Africa, your time is now? Because that still feels like it's the colonizers telling us that it's your time. Why not our time? Why
It's like
don't you drop the
we're being
whys?
given permission
Exactly.
to.
Which triggered a lot of people.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and it was very interesting and robust debates that we had, and I said what I said. I put the why in there because
said what
I
I
said not like that, but I said what I said.
Knowing you would never say it with that tone anyway. So
That I put the why there deliberately because I wanted it to be inclusive. I wanted the message to appeal to people that were not necessarily born here, because you can not necessarily be born in Africa, but you can be African by state of mind. And I've come across a lot of those people with our travels, with the movement to European states and even America, where people say, I don't feel worthy, I don't feel right being a white person wearing this T-shirt because of the history. And but the message resonates with them, and I want the message to be stocked at stores in Brussels, because that those conversations need to be had at places outside of the continent, because there is the African diaspora that exists everywhere.
Correct.
So I needed to open it up beyond the borders, and also, most importantly, and I might get lambasted again for this, but I genuinely believe that we were all one before we were separated by class and politics and religion and all of that. So ultimately, beyond Africanism, we need to now start seeing each other as people, as
first,
souls. Yeah.
First. I love that. And I love, I think the one thing that I get very vividly is your clarity, and to be 8 years in and to have, for your clarity to be this distilled is encouraging, because it then just doesn't feel like a campaign. Because I think things like these, it's easy to it's easy for it to go viral, and it's just a campaign that starts and ends. But I love just how clear and consistent you are with your conviction over the work that you're doing. And actually, let's talk a bit. You mentioned Brussels, but where is the brand stock? Because I know you're quite far and wide in terms of where you've managed to get the brand available. Locally in South Africa, on the continent, and even globally, where is the brand available? And how is it retailed?
For us, we were also very deliberate that we wanted it to be in adjacencies that made sense for the brand. So we started off with being online, because I wanted easy accessibility and far and wide distribution. So we distribute online, and then in Johannesburg, there's a store called Africa Rise, which is in Sandton City, which a lot of people can access if you want to try and touch and feel. But if you don't, you've got that online. And then in Cape Town, at Merchants on Long. And for us, it's not about being everywhere, because that can also, and that's the intel that I use from the decades of work in the fashion space. We've been approached by so many retailers, and I've said more no's than yeses, because I have longevity for the brand. I didn't want the brand to just be everywhere and anywhere and then not be handled with the respect that it deserves, which has happened, and we've bowed out of those relationships. But taking our time in being in the right places, and places that make sense, and places that believe in the message, that will treat it with the honor and respect it deserves. And then I think in our third or fourth year, we were at L'Exception, which is the biggest department store in Paris. And because they got it, they just got it. We have a lovely agent, Emmanuel Courage, who's our agent in France. Um, and then Bloomingdale's, which we're no longer at, but was a great platform for us to be on because we wanted people to access the brand, but our online store doesn't allow us to ship beyond our borders.
Okay.
So when we agreed to be in Bloomingdale's, they have a very good footprint in America, and it was across all the stores in America, which then opened up other doors for us. So that was a great an arrangement. And then at the Narrative in Brooklyn, in New York, and then Alara in Nigeria. We love Alara. Hello, Rennie.
We love Alara.
Yeah, so I think that gives you an idea. So it's not just about being anywhere and
It is
everywhere.
very curated
Yeah,
in
very.
terms of its distribution. I love that. And those feel like all the right spaces actually in terms of just the deliberate nature. And what volumes do you typically, if you are in retail, like physical retail, what are the volumes do you typically?
They differ. It depends on the state. Like, for instance, Merchants on Long is a unique boutique store,
Yeah.
very intimate. So they volumes would be very different to L'Exception, for instance, which is a department store. So it really just differs on the kind of store.
Okay. And are you seeing an increased interest from African consumers? And this question you've probably answered me already, partially, in supporting homegrown luxury brands or just brands in general. And how do you think that it'll shape the future of the industry? I mean, just the mention of Alara, for example, which is a beautiful, very curated culture space more than anything. Are you seeing from when you started to now? And I think we can expect that it'll peak given everything that's happening and just the support for our own brands and our own creativity. Are you seeing an increase in the growth and interest from African consumers consuming our own?
Yes. And in the indication is also by the amount of local brands sprouting on the daily,
Beautiful
because there is a
brands.
market. And also, I think with the prevalence of social media, it's kind of spread the word and made it easier for accessibility. And also, I think there's an awareness that we've had it. We've always had it. Just because a garment has a label that says made in Italy or made in France, it doesn't mean that it's any better than a brand that's made in Africa that, takes care of the quality. We've got amazing brands like Tongoro,
Oh,
oof,
Chrissy Brown.
Chrissy Brown,
There's
Makhosa,
so
Lisa
many.
Fulawi. There's so many African brands.
Sure.
Tebe Magugu, who's an incredible soul. I adore him as a human. And what I love about him is that he's also not in the business, in the glamour of fashion. He's like in the
Yes.
true business of fashion.
Yes, and what a beautiful heritage-led brand that is,
Yeah,
because
that
he's really
tells our
telling his own
stories.
story,
Yeah.
which you can always connect with
Yeah.
through fashion. I love how he always draws the connection to his own family and background.
And we can relate, with
Yeah.
elements of that, even if
Yeah.
you're not related to him. And I think there's way more. And we're going to see more of that. And I think also, what I said earlier on, at some point there were a lot of brands that didn't take care of their quality and people supported it because, it's Africa, whatever. But those days are gone. The quality is right there.
And I had this conversation with Tebe actually when we had our conversation last season about is made in Africa a potential does what's the equity behind the made in Africa label, given that Africa is, we've got obviously different parts of the continent, but could we unite behind made in Africa as an identity?
Why not?
And I mean, of course,
that would be Gaddafi's dream, the United States of Africa, when they killed him.
this is really, I mean, check out that episode if you haven't seen it. Tebe is, I named him Afroventurer. I
Okay.
said because I think he really is a true representation of what it is to venture through Africa and just discover it, because he's so deliberate about
Yeah.
that.
And we haven't seen anything
Yet.
yet. What's to come from him?
I think it's just such exciting times, and our contribution is through these conversations where we draw the connections from one geography to the next. I mean, it's being able to shoot, from Kenya and cover a conversation that somebody in South Africa would never have otherwise heard of, or speak to somebody who's in sustainability from Gabon, and have that conversation filter all the way to somebody that's in New York
Yeah.
and that has interest or is a friend of the diaspora.
Mm.
Let's talk about in what ways you think fashion can challenge like outdated stereotypes, and position the continent as a global culture leader.
The fact that anything from Africa is subpar needs to be challenged, and I think we're doing it successfully with African brands. Um, yeah, I think and that luxury started here, with
Yeah.
the time and the effort and the soul put into done garments, whether through beading or weaving,
Yes.
all of that.
All these crafts.
Clothing made to last a lifetime and
Yes.
being passed from generation to generation. That's our thing. It's always been our thing.
I saw on socials this weekend, some prominent couple from Nigeria were getting married, and somebody commented about just how elaborate the garments were from the guests alone. They were like, if these were the guests, what were what were the
The
couple?
couple, yeah.
And I loved how then somebody stitched it and said, you have not seen anything yet, because Nigerian weddings
Yeah.
are like, you know what I mean? But I also, for me, from the hair to the makeup to the garments themselves, I also just, it's beautiful, it's elaborate, it's over the top in a way that we love for it to be over the top. And you can draw that to what maybe Xhosa women wear.
Yeah.
If it's,
Yeah.
there was also another beautiful wedding this weekend where they were, Xhosa attire all over the place. So for me, it is our time. It is our time to have our cultural dress in every space, the everydayness of it, where it's not just reserved for traditional occasions. And I think your brand has actually managed to do that, because I've seen many of people wearing it at weddings, because they'll say, oh, it's a traditional wedding or whatever. And somebody will be like, actually, or it's Heritage Day or whatever, big cultural celebration. And somebody will say, well, this is actually all encompassing for me to identify myself. And they'll, I think the black and white t-shirts in particular, you can, dress them up with beautiful beadwork and like headgears. And I mean, I think we need a whole shoot, actually.
Yes. I'm gonna challenge you on that. We're gonna definitely do it.
Yeah, I think we need a user generated, well, social media people will call it user generate UCG, UGC, whatever campaign, where we're saying, Africa, your time is now. What is your interpretation of it?
I mean, look at Anele, who's a TV and radio personality in South Africa, who wore, I think her film was nominated at the Oscars. And what did she wear? She wore her full Xhosa regalia because she can. And she was saying she got a lot of compliments because our stuff is head turning.
It's
memorable.
It's gorgeous. What are your ambitions for Africa? Your time is now, as we project to the future, or right now, and as we project to the future.
Right now we're working on our very first collection. Even I can't believe that we're coming out with our first collection, like our full collection 8 years later. And that's what we'll be launching in September. And it keeps me up at night for all the right reasons. I'm so excited. Very simple, because I like simple things. I don't like complicated things that can go over people's heads, where you need a degree or a PhD to understand the
To
nuances. It's simple, but it's poignant, and it's also in touch with what's going on, with in Africa and the world. So that's what we're working on, and I think it feels right. The time is right.
The time is right
for us to.
Yeah. My scripture for the year is, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. So I suppose the gift of maturity and growth
Yes.
is just is easing yourself into things
Yes.
and knowing that they happen when they should.
Yes. And even I don't even want to add to that because you've coined it. You took the words literally out of my chest. I was very deliberate about. I didn't, I was working in magazines which were deadline driven for a long time.
Sure.
And I always needed to be a step ahead, always. And when I started my business, I made sure that I didn't want to be working on according to someone's calendar. I didn't want to do things because the season says or this one is dictating. So, even when I say the people that we supply with a product, I don't want people saying, yeah, but we need a new, no,
Yes.
that's not how we work. We produce stuff when it feels right.
Yeah.
And that's why I also work. So I mean, I still don't draw a salary from my business. The business pays staff, pays every penny that's made, goes back into the business to pay suppliers and the charity elements that we do. But I work for my lifestyle because I don't ever want to be doing stuff because
Yeah.
of bottom
It's the
line.
bread and butter stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's such a creativity is so fickle in that
Because of
sense.
that.
Yeah.
Because then something gets diluted when you're doing things according to someone else's calendar, because that's not how the creative
Process
works.
Correct.
So, yeah, even now, 8 years later, we work on a full collection and it's flowing. If the designs are flowing and everything is just coming together, with what we talked about.
Yeah.
I was in Cape Town last week. I met with a Ghanaian mate of mine, and we've been wanting to work together for the longest time, Yao. And it took one conversation, like within 10 minutes of working each other, found out what they're currently doing. And the meeting was just supposed to be a social meeting that happened to be in South Africa. And we were in Cape Town, let's meet for a drink. They were working on something, I was working on something, and magic just happened. We were like, oh my gosh, with what I'm doing, with what you're doing, it just makes sense.
It's work.
And for me, that's what determines when it's gonna be a success.
Yeah.
If it just feels right.
I love that. And I mean, you've got this exciting, the first full collection. Are you able to share what the collection will include or to what extent? If you're not comfortable, that's okay.
I'm not comfortable because there needs to be but when it's out there, we'll definitely make sure. Yeah,
We'll get the
for sure.
And any collaborations, or anything just future wise that's exciting you right now, or even where you'll take the collection, where it will live, how it will live in space, in time.
It's going to travel. The collection will travel to, anyone who's receptive to it. And I think the proof will be in the pudding. Like once we put it out there and we showcase it to a few people, the word will spread. I believe that. And collabos, they probably there, just nothing top of mind. But whom I'd like to collaborate with is Nelson.
So I saw him again. Every time I'm about to have a podcast, I saw him again with the family on Saturday, and loving. I actually commended him, loving the work, loving the direction that he's taken with the art right now. Nelson,
we've been talking about it for years. We've been talking about it for years, and I'm putting him under pressure now. I actually want to call him after this podcast just to touch base.
Yeah, tell him,
because I think
Buye and I said
yes,
it's time.
100%.
It's time.
And we've been supporting each other's journeys before we were, what we're doing. So it would be nice to do something together. I don't know what that looks like just as yet.
Well, we pray that God and our ancestors conspire to bring it to life at the right time. At the right time.
How aligned are we? Like every time you say something, I'm like, that's exactly what I was about to say.
At the right time. Yeah. And as we close, this is a question we ask to all our guests. And I love this question because it really just encapsulates the essence of a person. And yeah, what is your ultimate luxury?
My ultimate luxury is intangible. Mostly, it's good health. deep, meaningful conversations with my loved ones, unconditional love, and this the power of being in spaces where I can just be, and privacy
Oh,
is a massive one for me, and yeah, and just love, unconditional love.
just love.
Mm.
I love that. I love that. I love that it feels like you're living that already. Um, because when I asked how are you, your answer to me was content, and I wish for more of that for you in a space in a world that's so temporary. I wish the consistency of that love, that health, for you and your girls, and yeah, I'm glad that I get to share in some of these spaces where I can just see you at ease, um, which
With no shoes.
with no shoes.
Barefoot. Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you feel most like yourself. I think when one experiences you in those spaces, I think you've never been one to be pretentious or have facades anyway.
I'm allergic to that.
Mm.
And even when people do that, I'm like, okay, it's so much better to just be and be vulnerable, and connections are then made.
Yeah.
And if you know me, you know what I'm saying. I don't have the words to articulate it. And I think we just need to be deliberate about raising our own individual frequencies, because then that adds to the bigger picture.
And to heal, it starts with healing, so that we don't move in spaces thinking we have to be anything other than ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think raising kids today, is also, that is so important, because it's easy to be amiss or to get lost, particularly teenagers. I had to have a really real conversation with my son this weekend about friendships, um, and just to call him back to who he is and remind him of that, because it's easy to be impressionable and stuff at this age. But overall, very good kids.
Yeah. And if you weren't aware and present, you wouldn't know what, you wouldn't even pick it up that he's going whatever. So
Yeah. And nothing particularly big. I mean, it was just the moment, I think, of being a preteen for him.
yeah, which is normal. That's what you want, because it shows that your child is normal.
Yeah.
You don't want a perfect child.
No,
We
I
don't want
always
that.
say no perfectionism allowed. Mistakes welcome, because we get to reflect and learn and have the conversations through them. Ngiyabonga. Thank you.
Wanga mina. Thank you.
I
I know it's
love
taken
you.
so long, but I think it was worth it.
It happened when it was
Thanks.
supposed to happen.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for your
much.
patience.
Such a beautiful conversation. And yeah, I mean, can't wait. I mean, we've got some work to do. And can't wait just to be able to put the work out at the right time together.